At one time, it seems that it was a good 16-year-old whiskey. But how are you, friends of Talking About Whiskey, your best and favorite channel of all the whiskey channels in the whole world on YouTube? My name is Eduardo, and here we are in Madrid, the capital of what remains of Spain, to make a new and interesting video about the world of whiskey. As I always say, today we have a whiskey that you have asked me for. Look, I don't know, actively, passively, and even by letter, I think, the Laphroaig Lore, however the hell you say this, the Freg Lore. It is a whiskey with 48% alcohol content. It doesn't say anything here. It is cold filtered, without coloring, as it doesn't mention anything, but I understand that I don't know. It is a whiskey that is quite premium. And he says that lore is a tradition that has been passed down orally from generation to generation over the centuries. The flower is our richest expression. He says it is a liquid from a selection of aged barrels that ultimately becomes a deep malt with a very distinctive smoke, a peat that is also very mineral, very salty, blah blah blah. This is Laphroaig Lore, no chill filter. It doesn't mention anything about coloring, but well, here it is. It is a very expensive whiskey. Supposedly at one time it was a 16-year-old whiskey, but they ran out of the 16-year-old stock, so it would be something like the Gabulin 16 or something similar, but from Laphroaig. The thing is, they ran out of the 16-year-old and stopped making the 16-year-old. And so it seems that this whiskey contains a very significant percentage of the 16-year-old Laphroaig, although not of clear age. That means it is very likely that we have very young whiskies from Laphroaig here of 6-8 years or something like that, and it is a whiskey with an alcohol content of 48%, which I have already mentioned, and it doesn't tell us much more on the box. Very expensive whiskey, a whiskey that costs approximately between 100 and 130 euros per bottle, depending on how little you buy. A whiskey that has not changed in price since before the pandemic, meaning it remains between 100 and 130 euros, and sometimes it can be found on sale here and there. It is a whiskey that is relatively easy to find. It is not excessively difficult to locate both online and in physical stores, but it is no longer a whiskey that you come across. It can also happen that it is not available. It is no longer like the Laphroaig 10 or the Laphroaig Quarter Cask, which are whiskies that are very available. Laphroaig Lore is generally available, but not always. Well, as I said, you have insisted a lot on this whiskey, so here it is for all of you. And since it is considered the best whiskey from Laphroaig in general terms, that's what people convey to me. Look, I have to say one thing regarding Laphroaig. For me, Laphroaig is, along with Gabulin and Caol Ila, the most famous triumvirate. Let's say they are the three whiskey brands from Islay that, in a way, have a significant commercial intent to sell a lot. Well, like all companies. But this is more so because they are large producers. Additionally, for me, I would place the Gabulina at the top, followed by the Freud, and then the Caol Ila in that order of quality. But what is happening to them? What is happening is that in their more battle-like expressions, so to speak, especially with Caol Ila and Laphroaig with their 10 and 12-year expressions, they seem to me to be whiskies that do not reach the same level. They are also very cheap whiskies in general. Caol Ila 12 in Spain is priced in the 30-something euros range, and Laphroaig 10 usually costs around $40. It's not that they are given away, but it's not comparable to the $50 and $30 for the Jalin 8 or the 70, 80, 90 that is being paid today for the Gabulin 16. However, putting the Gabulin aside for a moment, Freud and Caol Ila seem to me to be two whiskies that, let's say, in their basic expressions are a bit rough. They are whiskies that are well made, whiskies with a good finish, but in my opinion, they are clearly whiskies very oriented towards mass production for blending into others, as is the case with Caol Ila and Diageo, to create other whiskies, whether they are blended malts or blended scotch. It is not the same with Gabon. It is different, and it is not the same with Ardbeg, nor is it the same with Bruichladdich. Well, maybe it is a bit the same with Bowmore, but Bowmore already has a whiskey profile with much less smoke. So, paying 100 and something euros for a Laphroaig that also has no age statement, when for 100 and something euros you can buy a Lagavulin 12 cask strength, well, it does hold you back a bit. It does hold you back a bit, as we say here in Spain. So it must be a whiskey that has to have a high level of quality, not extremely high. And that is what we are going to demand in this case. A little to give you an idea of the type of whiskey it is. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't comment on the woods or anything. We ended up completely in the dark. It doesn't say if this is a blend of Pedro Jimenez with whatever, with ex-bourbon. Well, normally it will be ex-bourbon and some other type of malt. But well, 16 years, which is not stated, I insist. But supposedly there is a very strong load of 16-year-old whiskey, very expensive whiskey, the Laphroaig. So let's see what we find. In terms of coloring, well, I don't know if it has coloring or not. Then the color is very, very dark. Quite dark for a whiskey of this type. I don't know if you remember the 10, but with a rather dark whiskey. Let's see what we find on the nose first in this Laphroaig Lore. Very interesting. Very interesting. In my opinion, there is indeed some kind of finish in Pedro Jimenez barrels or ex-sherry barrels. Let's put it that way, in my opinion. Of course. Oh no, it's just that, well, I would say I don't know. Now I'm left with doubt. At first, I was very clear about it, but certainly not now. Look, I have to tell you right off the bat, that it is one of the smoked whiskeys with the best nose that I have ever smelled in my life. Right off the bat, there is something different about this whiskey. Something different. I mean, the iodine note. But at the same time, a note like caramel, like resins, it's really curious. It's 48%. It's a very curious alcohol integration of 10,000. It's fascinating because the smoky hit, I don't know how to express it. It's very powerful, but very balanced, very smooth, yet it doesn't lose intensity. The iodine note is delicious, wonderful. It is an absolutely 100% Laphroaig profile, nothing like an abrupt Ardbeg or a smooth Carl Ila, to put it in some way. And I have my doubts regarding the finish on this whiskey. It could be some finishing, I don't know, but certainly the note, definitely. The bourbon is from first-rate ex-oak woods because at first call, there is an impressive amount of vanilla, an impressive amount of banana, and an impressive amount of coconut on the nose. There are notes of wood and cinnamon, incredible on the nose. This whiskey is absolutely amazing. Probably the Laphroaig whiskey with the best nose I have tried so far. Probably. Notes of candies, pastries, bakery, a lot of cereal, single malt from afar, bread, bun, cake, that kind of notes. Delicious on the nose. Incredible, incredible, this whiskey on the nose. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. Amazing. Let's see how it tastes. Cheers. Wow. Oh my. Wow, oh my, wow. Exceptional. Look, it's a combination of smoke, sweetness, cinnamon. It's very spicy, a lot of vanilla. I find it hard to explain. It confused me at first with that sherry wine. It gives me the feeling that this is pure and simple Ixbergo, but with woods of simply exceptional quality. Exceptional. That is to say, it is very difficult to find a whiskey with these characteristics, I tell you. It reminds me of one of those Gabaline, a bit of a masterpiece, right? An unbeatable, incredible whiskey. Buff. The nose is now a resin. It is medicinal. It has a note of freshly burnt caramel, leather. A note that is also a bit very maritime, very coastal. Mineral, as the note said. Certainly, absolutely, 100%. One of the best whiskies from Islay that I have ever tasted in my life. If not the best, then certainly among the top 4 or 5. The burnt caramel note is extremely intense. The vanillas, the cinnamons, it's like a kind of reminds me precisely of those when you add a bit of vanilla, right? You are making custard or something like that. And you add those little vanilla pods, those vanilla seeds, so that when the infusion of that wonderful, delicious vanilla reaches you, it is truly incredible. Incredible. There is a note that is very floral, like roses, like carnations, but very intense, very intense, very herbal, mentholated, very eucalyptus. I mean, this whiskey nose is absolutely insane, insane, incredible. Well, it's a true marvel, isn't it? 48% on the palate. The palate is somewhat less expressive than the nose, but it certainly returns to being earthy and mineral. It's something in between, neither dry nor sweet. It is a whiskey that is somewhere in between, let's put it that way, in a middle ground. The finish is long, with perfect intensity, smooth, silky, but it doesn't overwhelm. No, it's warm, it fills you up. In the end, it's like a lake, something to chew on. But it is truly a masterpiece of whiskey, the Laphroaig. I didn't expect it to be so good, but it truly is a special whiskey. 48%, perfect alcohol integration, incredible. I don't know. A true whiskey hit. This whiskey has surprised me a lot. I mean, I expected it to be good, but honestly, I can tell you it's not that good. It's a whiskey for a special occasion. I don't think it's a whiskey for every day. I think it's a whiskey to share at some moment, to open on a special occasion with good friends, on a day when you want to give yourself this little tribute, for whatever reason. It's a whiskey that stands out from the ordinary in every way. An incredible, incredible whiskey that I recommend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, that you were entertained, and that you learned something. Not every day do you taste and discover a whiskey with these characteristics. So I hope you enjoyed it and had a good time. Please remember to always drink in moderation. Please remember to be very happy, as that is the most important thing. Since you've made it this far, please like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps us a little or a lot. A big hug and take care. See you soon. Bye. See you.